Welcome to the session today. Hope you all can hear me. Can you guys confirm once?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So let's start the session, guys. Yesterday we couldn't able to have our session due to some admin issues. So let us try to start with the GCP locations. Before that, so let me gonna just recap what we have discussed so far. Then we will try to start. Okay. So if you remember in our yesterday's, in our previous sessions, we have seen what is data engineering. And after that, we have seen the role of a data engineer. And I have also told you GCP introduction. And in our fourth, we have seen the curriculum. And in our fifth topic, we have seen the why we need cloud. And we have also seen traditional versus cloud platforms. What is the difference between the traditional working model as well as cloud working model? And we have seen our last previous topic, that is GCP interfaces. Okay. Can you guys tell me how many GCP interfaces are there if one wanted to interact with the GCP services? Can you guys confirm that? Anyone?
Two, sir.
So we have only two interfaces. Sir, if I
One,
wanted to interact with the GCP services, what are the GCP interface methods are available? How many methods are available, guys? So try to recap our sessions. These are very basic sessions, guys. If you can see in our previous sessions, I have told you this thing. If I wanted to interact with the GCP services, we have total four methods are there. Out of four, three are the methods are we are going to use it commonly. One is console, Cloud Shell, Cloud SDK, and third-party tools and API tools. Can you guys tell me what is console? So console is a graphical user interface to interact with the services visually. Cloud Shell is a command line interface to interact with the services via commands. Cloud SDK is a local based command line interface to interact with the GCP services via commands or scripts. Okay, in a Cloud Shell, we have two things. One is Cloud Shell Editor, Cloud Shell Terminal also. Okay, these things we have seen in our previous sessions. And we are going to start with one more important topic, that is GCP locations, which is very, very basic and very important session also. Okay, so let me gonna tell you. Sir, in Google Cloud Platform, we already know that GCP is providing you the infrastructure. Assume that this is the entire GCP's infrastructure. This is entire GCP's infrastructure. Okay, so this entire GCP's infrastructure is divided into 5 locations. Okay, that means Google has its a different infrastructure is in different locations. Those locations are 5, and that is available in North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Australia. These 5 locations are further divided into regions. Regions. These regions are further divided into zones. Okay, so this is how GCP's infrastructure is divided into multiple locations. That multiple locations are further divided into regions. Regions are further divided into zones. It's like this, guys. If you think that India is divided into multiple states. Multiple states are divided into cities. and also further divided into villages. Okay, so this is how the division. Why this division is very important? So if one wanted to move from one location to another location with a proper name, with a proper state name or a city name or a village name, very simple, so that they can able to easily travel it. Similarly, in Google Cloud Platform also, GCP's entire infrastructure is organized into 5 locations. These 5 locations are further divided into 37 regions. These 37 regions are further divided into 112 zones. Okay, so let me gonna show you. So if you take this is our world map. So we have total 5 locations as I told you, right? So this is location 1. So we call it as a North America. And this is location 2. This is South America. Location 3. This is Europe. Location 4. Sorry. It should be like this. Asia. This is location 4, Asia, guys. This is location 5, Australia. Total 5 locations are there, right? So what do you mean by that, sir? If you actually ask me, sir, you can look at it here. GCP's data centers are available in multiple locations like this. You can think of like that. GCP has divided its entire infrastructure into 5 locations. Location 1, location 2, location 3, location 4, location 5. Each location has its own name. One is North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. Okay, so locations are, each location is further divided into multiple regions. So if you can see here, guys, so blue dots are nothing but a region, sir. Blue dot is nothing but a region. So whatever you see the blue dot here, right? So that is a region. So one location is having multiple regions. Okay, so one location is having multiple regions. And if you actually go to that particular region, each region is divided into multiple zones. Each region is divided into multiple zones. Okay, so this is how the category. So each zone is nothing but your data center. Each zone is nothing but your data center. Okay, in a data center, if you take any data center, okay, for example, the division is like this, guys. So assume that we have locations. Locations are further divided into regions. Regions are further divided into zones. For every region, you will be having at least a minimum 3 zones will be there. Each zone is nothing but a one data center. One data center. A data center will be having physical resources as well as virtual resources. Physical resources are such as storage devices, disk, CPU, RAM, all of those things you call it as a physical devices, physical resources. Virtual resources are like virtual components such as virtual machines as well as containers. Okay, so that is how it is, guys. Okay, so if I take GCP's infrastructure, that GCP infrastructure is divided into 5 locations. Locations are further divided into regions. Regions are further divided into zones. Each zone is a one data center you can think of. Data center will be having the resources such as physical as well as virtual. Okay. So you can see here, these are the 5 locations on the world map. Okay. If you wanted to see GCP's infrastructure is organized into regions and zones. Each region is a collection of zones. These are the 5 zones, 5 locations that we have. And let me take this picture and let us go to here. So let me gonna tell you about the terminology. Hope you all can see the screen clearly. So this is our world map, sir. Whatever you see, this is our world map. In a world map, how many locations are there, guys? Can you guys confirm how many locations are there? Can you guys confirm how many locations are there, guys?
3, sir.
3.
Five.
Total how many locations?
Five.
Five.
5 locations.
5 locations are there. So if I take the entire world map, we will be having 5 locations. That is location 1 here, location 2 here, location 3 here, location 4 here, 5 here. So this is our 4. So this is Europe. So I am taking one of the location. So one of the location. This is our world map. So here you will be having this is our world map. In a world map, if you take out of 5 locations, take only one location, that is Europe. Okay, you have North America, South America, Asia, Australia, and Europe. I am taking the Europe. So this small circle is this one, sir. Europe will be having multiple regions. Here, region 1, region 2, region 3. Sorry, I'll take one more color. Region 2, region 3, region 4, somewhere, something like that. It will be having plenty of regions. Okay, so you can also see here in the picture. So Europe is having multiple regions. You see here, this is Europe. Europe is having multiple regions. Okay, so that is how all the blue dots are nothing but the regions only. And if I take one of the region, this is our one region, that is Europe West 2. Okay, so this is our region, sir. So Europe is a multi-regions. It will be having multiple regions, and each region in the Europe is a location. It will be having multiple regions. Each region has its own name. That name you can see here. One of the name is Europe West 2. The other name can be Europe West 3, West 4, South 1, South 2, Europe South 1, Europe South 2, Europe South 3, or East 1, East 2. Something like that. Each location has its own name. Each region has its own name, and if you go to the each region will have its at least a minimum 3 zones will be there, sir. For every region, minimum 3 zones will be there. For this particular Europe West 2, we have a West 2A, West 2B, West 2C. So this is what is the nomenclature for each and every location, region, and zone. So the nomenclature is like this, guys. So out of all the world, we have total 5 locations are there. The names of the 5 locations is Europe, Australia, Asia, North America, and South America. If you take anything, if you take today, Europe is a location. Each location is having multiple regions. Region 1, region 2, region 3, region 4, region 5. Each region has its own name. Europe West 2. It is on the west, so that's the reason Europe West 2. If it is on north, Europe West North 1. If it is on south, Europe South 1. So such that you will be having the names. Okay, so Europe West 2 is a region. Each region is a collection of zones. So if you go to this particular Europe West 2, you will be having zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. Those are the zones here. Europe West 2A, West 2B, West 2C. So you will be having 3 zones here. So these are zones. Okay, so this is how that our infrastructure in the GCP is categorized into multiple locations, regions, and zones. Each region, each zone has its own name properly assigned based on the location. Okay, so that is how it is.
Sir, I have one question here.
Okay.
In this
GCP location, that is the standard declaration. Means for location, we have the 5 location constant, then region and then zone. Can we declare as a new location?
Sorry, I did not get you. So total 5 locations are there, yes?
So can we declare any new location?
No, you don't declare anything. We will just use it, okay? It is data centers.
Okay, that means already means we can say this is CGP location is the constant already declared. Data
Yes.
centers.
Yes.
So
Okay.
in this chain, region or zone, which we can create newly, region or zone or
You don't create anything, guys. So do you create India? Do you create Hyderabad? Do you create Telangana? You don't create anything. Okay.
means as it is, this is the we can say constant. We are using it only that.
So that's what. Don't think in that perspective. That's what I'm telling. Don't think in the perspective. It is constant. We use it. It's not like that. So think about it. It is like this, guys. So you have. So for example, it's like this. A company wanted to provide a. Company wanted to sell its products. Okay. If I say sell the products to the only one location. For example, assume that a company wanted to sell its products. Okay, so you go to India. Okay, you go to India. So this is India, and in India, where the product will be highly sellable, mention the state name, and you if in the state also you will mention one more city name or village name. So your entire location is divided into the states are further divided into cities. You don't say that I will create a state. You don't say that I will create a city. For your main importance is that your products are sold in the India. If I say India, it is very highly sold in the some particular state. If I say in a particular state, it is very highly sold in particular city name. That's how you mention it, but you don't create anything, you don't do anything. It is a concept that whenever we wanted to deploy any resources, I will tell you, don't go there. Just try to understand these are names. And when I
Okay.
say name, yeah.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah. So when you have a total 5 locations, guys, these 5 locations are divided into regions. Regions are divided into zones. Okay. So you can think of like this. For example, I take one of the location A. You can take some Australia, or Asia, anything, any location. Locations are nothing but a collection of regions. Location is divided into multiple regions. Region 1, Region 2, Region 3, Region 4, so on. Each region is a collection of zones. Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone C, Zone D. Each zone is connected to the one more zone via high bandwidth network. As I told you, zones will be having the data center. So this is what is a data center. Each zone is having one data center, guys. Each zone is having one particular data center. Okay, so this is what is our data center. A data center is nothing. A data center is nothing but where you will be having the virtual resources as well as physical resources. It is nothing but a data center. Zone A is one of the data center. Okay, so this is how the category, this is how the division. Okay, so this is how, that means when I say each location is having multiple data centers, each region is having multiple data centers, right? So on top of this data center resources, GCP's data center resources, we are going to use these resources for our own application building, application scaling, application deployment. Okay, if I wanted to use any of the resources in the GCP, it will be tagged to one of the location, region, and zone. So that is how on top of this data center resources only, we are going to do the development, deployment, and scaling. Okay, that is the reason zones are also called as a deployment area. Deployment area, because on top of these resources only, The deployment is happening. So the area where the deployment is happening is nothing but a deployment area. So a zone is a deployment area. It's because we are going to have the resources available there only. Okay, so this is how the divisions are. So you will be having a location. Location is divided into regions. Regions are divided into zones. Zones are connected to the one more zone. And here we have the zones, physical resources and virtual resources. You call it as a data center. Okay. So why it is needed, guys? So for example, in Google Cloud Platform, you wanted to create one resource. Such as, sir, I wanted to create, for example, assume that your client came to you and he given you some 100 terabytes of the data. Your client came to you and he given you 100 terabytes of the data. And he asked you to store this 100 terabytes of the data because it is a very important data, and he asked you to store it. He asked you to store it. And you don't want it to store it on premises, because if you wanted to store it in the on premises, can you guys tell me what are the challenges we are going to face? Sir, if I wanted to store it in the on premises, can anyone tell me what are the challenges?
Hardware challenges.
Okay, so that means we need to find the hardware. That means we need to first purchase the hardware, correct?
Resources.
We need to find all the infrastructure. I would just mention infrastructure, right? So we need to purchase all the infrastructure, and again then
maintenance,
correct? We need to maintain it. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. Perfect. And
Access, performance,
Availability.
availability, let's not worry about it. In the on premises, we do not worry about availability. Yeah, next thing.
scaling,
performance will down.
Sorry,
scaling. In case
scaling
that
is not easy. Perfect. Scaling is not easy. Correct.
Price.
The price, perfect. The cost of the products price is also very high. Okay, so this is how when you are working in the on-premise. So if you wanted to store 100 terabytes of the data in the on-premises, you have these many challenges. Okay, so you have actually missed. If you are working in the on-premises, you have to maintain your own data center, right? You have to maintain your own data center. In the data center only, you will be having your infrastructure available. So it is highly costly and highly expensive model. Now, so you don't want it to use it. That means some cloud platform will already have its resources. So you wanted to make use of those resources to store this data. So what I will do, I will go to the Google Cloud Platform, because Google Cloud Platform is having all its data centers available throughout the world, which we have just seen, right? Google's data center, when I say Google's data center, Google's infrastructure is available throughout the world. Google's infrastructure is available throughout the world. So I will go to the Google Cloud Platform. I will select, I wanted to store 100 terabytes of data. I will select GCS. Okay, so what I will do, I will go to the Google Cloud, for example. If I go to the Google Cloud Platform, it is 100 terabytes of the data. I wanted to store it. I will go to the cloud storage. So in cloud storage, if I wanted to store it, first we need to create a container, nothing but a bucket. So you provide some name. And then you wanted to provide the location. Okay, so whatever the resource that you are creating it, for example, you wanted to create a cloud storage bucket, you have to specify the location. Tomorrow, sir, I wanted to create some cluster. If you wanted to create some cluster, so you have to specify the location, region and zone. If you wanted to create some virtual machine, you have to specify the location, region and zone. So in GCP, in Google Cloud Platform, not only in the Google Cloud Platform, if you go for any cloud platform, if you wanted to store or if you wanted to create any resource in Cloud platforms, if you wanted to create any resource, we must select what, sir? What we have to must select? We have to select the location. In location, we should select a region and
Jones.
zone. Okay, so what actually they are saying, so whatever the resource you are trying to create it, physically this resource is going to be physically created in this particular data center, the data center that is there in the zone. So that is what is it mean, guys. So whatever you are selecting a location, region and zone, the resource is physically going to be created in that particular region or zone. So that is what it does mean. So if I wanted to create a resource, I must select a proper location. I must select a proper location. So that is the reason. For example, if I wanted to create any resource in the GCP, I will go to one service. So when I select that service, we need to select the location. Okay, location. When I say location, you will be having region and zone. So this is how you select the location properly, so that this 100 terabytes of the data will be available in that particular data center which you are selecting. Whatever the zone you are selecting, for example, you selected Europe West 2A as a zone. That means your 100 terabytes of the data is going to be available in the Europe West 2A zone only. In that particular data center will be there. That data is going to be physically stored in that location. Okay, so this is what is that mean. Okay, because we don't want it to store it in our on-premises, because in our on-premises we don't want it to maintain the data center, because it is taking a lot of time and lot of money, lot of hardware, lot of maintenance and scaling. So when we wanted to store something, we are going to the cloud platforms and we are trying to create some resource. We are trying to create some resource, and we are going, while creating the resource, we are selecting a proper location. So that is very, very important. Selecting a proper location is very important. So that is our next topic. Okay, so this is what is GCP. The main importance of the GCP regions and zone is that whatever the resource that you are going to create in the GCP, whatever the service that you are going to use it, and you are going to select a location for sure. So for selecting the location, we are going to understand the GCP locations concept. Okay, yes, please mute yourself. I see some of the noise from some of the persons. Please mute yourself. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now let us try to understand, sir, the definition wise. What is a region? So region is an independent geographic area. That's it. So in a location, if I take any location, region is one of the independent geographic area which consists of zones. Okay, so that is what is. Okay, a region is an independent geographic area within a location which is consist of zones. That is our first point. Second point, each region is consist of one or more data centers, because a zone is nothing but a data center. So each region is also nothing but a consist of data centers. Each region is a collection of zones, nothing but a collection of data centers. Okay, so the main importance of the GCP regions and zones is to provide the high availability, low latency for applications and services deployed in those regions. I will talk about this point. Okay, so for example, one of the region is a US Central one. Okay, in LoWa, in USA, you have one of the region that is US Central one. What is region, sir? It is an independent geographic area within a location. Is also having the collection of zones. A collection of zones is nothing but a collection of data centers only. And zones. A zone is a deployment area, I told you. A zone is a deployment area for GCP resources within a region. Where you will be having the zones, sir? Zones are within a region only. Zones are within a region only. Okay, a zone is a deployment area for Google Cloud resources within a region. Zones are physically separate from one more zone, and it is connected via high bandwidth network and low latency network. Okay, a zone is a deployment area for Google Cloud resources within a region. It is physically separate from each other and connected via high bandwidth network and low latency network. One of the zone is US Central 1A. One of the region is US Central 1. You see here the nomenclature again. US Central 1 is a region. US Central 1A, 1B, 1C are the zones. Okay, so this is how the definition for the region and zone. Now let us try to understand, sir. I wanted to create a resource in the GCP, sir. How to select a proper region or location so that I will get the optimal performance. I will get the high availability. See, because whatever the resource that we are going to create today, it has to be highly available. First character, it should be highly available, guys. Because if it is not available, I cannot be able to use it. First thing, highly available. Next thing, it should be having low latency. While I am accessing that resource, it should be giving me the low latency. And the resource cost should be less cost, optimal cost, I will say. Okay, cost effective. It should be cost effective. Sorry. That particular resource, we need to think about the cost effective. And one more thing is that we should also think that it should be providing the optimal performance. Okay, so whenever you wanted to create any resource, the resource has to be highly available for all the users, and it should be providing the low latency. Okay, so whenever you are accessing it, the latency should be very less, and cost effective. The cost of the resources comparatively should be very less compared to the all other resources with all other different locations. The cost should be very less, and it should be providing me the optimal performance. So to have all of these options, we must select a proper location. Guys. So if you wanted to create any resource in the GCP, we can select anything, guys. So I can go here, we can select anything. Okay, sir, if I wanted to create a compute engine, so if I wanted to create this one, I can select any location. It doesn't bother me at all. But if you select some location, tomorrow your client will come to you and something like this. For example, say that your client came to you and he given you 100 terabytes of the data, and you are going to create some virtual machine. On top of the virtual machine, you are going to store this data. And while you are creating this resource, you didn't bother about the GCP locations concept. This is what happens, guys. So people does not know about the GCP concept. So that is where they are going to face these issues. So your client gave you 100 terabytes of the data, and he told that this data is very important and he is going to access it all the time. He is going to access this data all the time. So there are few users are there. They are going to access this 100 terabytes of the data for further processing purpose. Okay, so he asked you to store this data. Okay, you straight away go to the GCP and you selected VM and you select some random location. You didn't bother about the GCP locations concept. You have selected a random location. Okay, and now all the users of this 100 terabytes, I told you, right, there are plenty of users are there. These users are trying to, so you selected a random location and you stored this 100 terabytes of the data here. You uploaded whatever the data, right? You upload it to the VM. Now these users are trying to access this particular 100 terabytes of the data. Okay, what you have done, sir? your client gave you some 100 terabytes of the data, and he also told you that it is very important data. There are few users are there, they are going to access this data every day. So please store this data in some location and provide the access to these users. And now you have created some virtual machine, and you have selected some random location, and you have uploaded that 100 terabytes of the data here. Now users are trying to access this 100 terabytes of the data, and now they are facing latency issues. When they are trying to access this 100 terabytes of the data, it is taking a lot of time to load. First thing, it is taking a latency means seek time, the access time. That means it is taking a lot of time, the buffer time you see, right? So the latency is very high. So it is taking a lot of time for them to access this data, one thing. Second thing is that the network lag is very high. Network lag. So if they are accessing this 100 terabytes of the data, and there will be a network lag is there. And that is the reason this 100 terabytes of the data is not available, highly available. It is not highly available. And one more thing is that, and your client came to you and see that you have stored 100 terabytes of the data, you have selected a random location, it is very costly location. Whatever you have selected is very costly location. That means it is highly costly. That means it is not an optimum cost, it is a highly costly. See, that is the reason all the users are going to complain about you, saying that this guy has created some virtual machine, but he did not worried about the GCP locations concept. He has randomly selected a location. Now we are facing every day the issues while accessing the data. They are facing every day the issues while accessing this data, and they are going to complain about you to the client, saying that this guy does not have a proper knowledge on creating a virtual machine and selecting a proper location. Okay, so this is how, whenever you wanted to create some resource in the GCP, not only VM is an example here. If you wanted to create any resource in the GCP, we must properly select this location, guys. We should not select some random location. If you select a random location, you are facing these issues. You may face latency issues, network lag, high availability, costly. Okay, unnecessarily you are going to pay a lot of money. So if you try to understand GCP locations, you should select a proper location. Whether it is region or zone, you should specify proper region and zone so that you can able to get optimal performance. Okay, sir, how to select it, sir? Can you tell me? Sir, how to select it? Now I am in the same situation, sir. I wanted to select a proper location. Sir, can you give me how to select a proper region and zone for each and every resource that I am going to create in the GCP? So how to select a proper location? Can you tell me, sir? So now I am going to tell you, sir. Okay, if you wanted to create any resources, selecting a proper location is very important. Proper location is nothing but selecting a proper region and zone is very, very important. Now I am going to tell you that. We have total 3 points are there, which are very, very important. Let us try to understand. The very first point is, whenever creating a resources or deploying the resources in GCP, it is important to consider the proximity of the region or zone to your target users or customers. It is important to consider the proximity of region or zone to your target users or customers. So, sir, whenever you are trying to create any resource, assume that this is world map. Assume that this is world map, sir. In world map, total we have 5 locations: location 1, location 2, location 3, location 4, location 5. Okay, so let me go to the world map only. So total we have 5 locations are there. Okay, so whenever you are trying to create any resource or deploy any resources in the GCP, we should think about the target users. The region and zone has to be near to your target users or customers. Let me gonna tell you a simple example. Okay, so assume that you are in India. This is in India. In India, there are plenty of the people are there. So For those people, one of the company, in Indian company, there is a one company, they wanted to create some application for the Indian users. Who are the users, sir? For the Indian users, this company wanted to create some application. For Indian users, this company wanted to create some application. So they have, when I say an application, it will be code will be there and infrastructure. So code they have prepared, they have deployed that code on top of this USA data center. They have deployed this code on top of this USA data center. Where is your application running, sir, now? Where is your application running now?
Location USA.
In this particular data centers only your application is running. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So now your target users are, who are your target users?
The
Indian.
Indian
India.
people are the target users. Now the Indian people are trying to access this application. Right? They are trying to access this application, and now they are going to face a lot of issues. It's because all the way from the India, they have to connect it to the Indian USA data center, which is the application which is available in the USA data center. So that is where they're going to face a lot of latency issues, network lag, that application is not available at all. Okay, so if something is taking a lot of time, no one will use your application. If some application is buffering all the time, if some application is not available all the time, no one will use your application. So now Indian users are trying to access this application. This application is available in the USA data center. Now the access is very hard. It's because it is a lot of latency, network lag is there, the application is not highly available, not available at all. So these are the problems. So that is the reason your application is not used by any of the person. You are going to lose your business at all. Okay, you are going to lose your business at all. Your entire business is getting crashed. It's because you have wanted to create an application, but no one is using your application. You have created it, you have spent a lot of money deploying your application, all of those things you have done it, but no one is using your application because of some location issue. Okay, so this is what happens, guys. This is what happens. Because of these reasons, many companies in the past has already faced this kind of an issue, and they come up with this first point is that whenever you wanted to deploy a resource or create a resource, try to deploy or create this resource near to your target users. Instead of deploying it in the USA data center, you can deploy it in the Mumbai or Delhi, or maybe near to Singapore, or all of these things. All these are Asia only, right? So you can always deploy your resources near to your target users, so that connecting the application from the India to the Indian data centers is very easy, very fast, and it is highly available. There won't be any network lag. So this is what is our first point says. Whenever we wanted to create any resource or deploy any resource in the GCP, try to create the resources near to your target users or customers. Select a location or a region, or select a region or zone near to your target users for application deployment or creating the resources. Okay, so that is what is our first point says. So what is our first point says? Instead of deploying your resources here, if your target users are here, try to deploy it in the Indian data centers only, or Asia's data centers only, so that the application is very fast, it provides optimal performance, it will be highly available, and there will be a very, very less latency. Okay, so this is what is our first point says. When deploying resources in GCP, it is important to consider the proximity of the region and zone to your target users or customers. Okay, and we have a second point. Let's go to the second point. Second point, to deploy fault-tolerant applications with high availability and help protect against the unexpected failures. Deploy your applications across multiple zones in a region. To deploy a fault-tolerant applications with high availability and help protect against the unexpected failures. Deploy your applications across multiple zones in a region. So let me gonna talk about this point. Assume that you have a region. In a region, you have zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. You wanted to, your company or your client came to you and he given you again 100 terabytes of the data. This guy is always coming and giving 100 terabytes of the data, and he told you that it is very important data, sir, and he asked you to store this data. Okay, he asked you to store this data. So for creating a resource, you went to the GCP and you wanted to create a resource. Yes or no? We wanted to create a bucket, right? That is nothing but a resource only. Okay, you wanted to create some resource. Okay, so while creating the resource, you can select any of the zone. In a region, you can select any of the zone. So assume that you have selected this zone. Okay, you have selected the zone 1. Okay, that means your entire data, where it is available, sir? You have uploaded the data now, 100 terabytes of the data. Where is your 100 terabytes of the data now?
Zone 1.
So you created a resource called cloud storage bucket and you selected a location called zone 1 and your entire 100 terabytes of the data is available in the zone 1 data center. Yes or no? Yes, right? So now tell me if some earthquake is happened here. Okay, some earthquake or tsunami. Earthquake or tsunami happened. What happened to your data center in the zone 1?
Crash will
It is crashed, right? Now, if the data center itself it is crashed, what happens to your data?
It will be lost.
You are going to lose it. And what happened to you when the client knows this thing? What happened to you guys?
loss will
So he will come to you and he will scold you like anything that why didn't you select the multiple zones in the first place? Okay, so to avoid the unexpected failures, because it is a client already told you that it is a very important data, he asked you to store it, but while you are storing it only, you selected one single zone. Because if that particular zone is getting crashed due to some unexpected failure like earthquake or tsunami, the entire data center itself it is crashed. So if the data center itself it is crashed, your 100 terabytes of data is also getting crashed. That means you are going to lose your entire data. So that is the reason while creating any resource in the GCP, if it is very important, then try to deploy it in multiple zones. Try to deploy it in multiple zones so that your data is available in zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. Here also it is available. Here also it is available. Here also it is available. So even though if some earthquake is happened in zone 1, can we have the data from the zone 2? Yes. Even though if the zone 2 is also failed, we can have the data from the zone 3. So that is how, this is how we can select a multi-zones. Sometimes entire region itself it is crashed. So that is the reason in that case you can also go for multi-regions. You can also select a multi-regions. So this is how whenever
what is about price, sir? If I select 3 regions, then price will also vary now, sir. It will be high.
Of course, right? Of course.
This is only nothing but disaster recovery, no, sir?
Yes, this is nothing but disaster recovery. Yes. So the thing is that whenever you wanted to create any resource in the GCP, so we should always think about unexpected failures. Because if you don't think about unexpected failures, you select the zone 1 and you store the data into the zone 1, and due to that, you are going to lose your data. So if you are got unlucky, this entire zone is getting crashed, your data is you are going to lose it. So that is the reason if you wanted to create any resource in the GCP, okay, so to avoid the unexpected failures, you try to select multi-zones or multi-regions. Okay, you try to select the multi-zones or multi-regions, guys. Okay, so you have a region. So in a region, zone 1 is there, zone 2 is there, zone 2, 3 is there. While you are creating a resource, you select multi-zones. For that particular region, you select the region and you say multi-zones. When you say multi-zones, automatically data will be replicated to this one, and this one. That means 100 terabytes of the data is available here, here, here. So your data is safe. So why it is going to be available, how it is going to be reflected, guys? I told you already, 100, each zone is connected to the one more zone via one more zone via high bandwidth network. So first it is going to be storing the 100 terabytes of data. It will be reflected to the one more zone. So that is how via high bandwidth network and low latency network, all of these regions are all of these zones are separated but connected via high bandwidth network. So that is the reason each zone will be having separate copy of the data. So whenever you are getting some benefit, you are going to get cost associated with that also. Okay, you inform this one to your client, because we have to inform it. Who is paying the money, sir? Your client is paying the money. You have to inform it, sir, you have given me 100 terabytes of the data. I can able to store it easily, but is it important data or not? Yes, it is an important data. So if it is an important data, sir, I am going to select a multi-zones, because to avoid the unexpected failures, to help protect against the unexpected failures, going to the multi-zones is a very important. But when we go to the multi-zones, the cost of the this particular data storage will be very high compared to the single zone. Because if you select the one zone, the data may crash. If you select the multiple zones, a separate copy of the data is available in multiple zones, so that even though one of the zone is crashed, we can have the data from the one more zone. So that kind of a benefit we are going to get it, so that at any cost we are not going to lose our data. So the cost is also like that. So are we okay with the cost associated for that particular multi-zones concept? If he says yes, he will say yes, guys, because it is an important data. He will say yes, and you go for the multi-zones. Sometimes for some resources, you are going to the multi-regions also. Okay, so the same thing. Instead of zone, you will go for multi-regions also. Okay, so this is how our second point says.
Sir, what is the best practices while selecting the regions? Like if I want to select Delhi and Mumbai region, sir. For one region, we have to select one region, and in another region, we have to select US. Like that is the best practice, or we have to select only in one region only. That is depend upon our only.
So when you select a region, you will only be having the options from that particular zones from that particular region only. You can't select a cross zones. Okay, so for example, you can see here, you're creating, see for example, you selected here the zones you can only see from that particular region. You can't select a cross zones. Okay. Okay, so multi zones is nothing but within that particular region, multiple zones. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, now the third point says very, very important point, and let us try to understand. The third point says is it is essential to understand the pricing and availability of the services across different regions and zones. It is very important to understand the pricing and availability of the services across different regions and zones, as they may vary. Very, very important. The availability may vary, the cost may also vary. Okay, very, very important point, guys. So whenever you wanted to create any resources, again, our famous example, your client came to you and given you some 100 terabytes of the data, and you wanted to store it in some VM. Okay, you wanted to store it in some VM. So what do? You selected some region, sir, because you selected some region. That's what you do, right? You come here, you select some region. Okay, and again, what do? You select some region and you select some zone. Okay, only one zone you can select here, right? So now you have region. You selected Europe West 1, West 2. You have zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. Total 3 zones are there. Now, what do you do is that, so whenever you are selecting a region, once you select a region, you have zones. You have to select only one zone here. Okay, so while you are selecting a zone, you need to think about two things. What is the first thing, sir? As per the third point, we need to think about availability. And what is the second point? As per the third point, we need to think about price. So whenever you wanted to deploy or create any resource in the GCP, when you select a region, you have to select a zone properly. So while you are selecting a zone, think about that particular resource, this particular resource available in this zone or not, first thing. So if it is available, if it is not available, then there is no problem. If it is available, I wanted to deploy it here. If it is available, I wanted to deploy it here. Now see, when you actually think about the creating a resources of VM in 3 zones, out of 3 zones, 2 zones having the VM resources, in one of the zone you do not have the VM resources. Okay, and the next point, pricing. So if the particular resource is not available, we don't worry about the cost. So for the zone 2, for this particular VM, it is $100. And you will be again go to the zone 3 and look at the pricing of that same VM here, and you see that it is $75. Now tell me, sir, where do you deploy it?
Zone 3.
You will be trying to deploy it in the zone 3, yes. Because whenever you try to understand the availability as well as pricing both, that is our third point. So availability and pricing is, understanding the availability and pricing is very important while creating the resource. Otherwise, what do you do, sir? If you don't understand the availability and pricing, what you might have done? You might have selected here, right? Yes or no? Because you come here, you select zone 1. Zone 1 is not available, so you go to the zone 2. Yes, zone 2 is available. And you select the pricing. Okay, here you are going to deploy it. Now tell me, is it a cost-effective solution?
Yeah.
No. So that is the reason what you try to do is that you always understand the pricing and availability of that particular zones in that particular region. Then you will come to know that what is the best zone out of all of these things according to the availability and pricing. Okay, now you will select zone 3 and you create the region. Such that you come here, okay, you come here and you select a name, give some name, and you select a region and you select some zone. So that is how you will be selecting it, guys. You can also see here. Okay, so for this one, the cost is not getting varied. For sometimes the cost may get varied, guys. So here now the cost is not varied. For some resources it gets varied. Okay, but region to region it changes. Region to region it changes. You see here for this one again 30. Maybe I'll go for US West 3. So earlier it was 32. Now it is 30 only. Okay, so that is how region to region the cost may vary. The zone to zone the cost may vary. So whenever you wanted to deploy it, you need to think about availability. If it is showing the cost, that means the resource is available. If it is not available, it will throw that. It will say an error saying that it is that particular resource is not available here. Okay, so that is how whenever you wanted to create some resource, try to think about the cost and try to think about the availability. Okay.
And what about the multi-zone functionality if we
For
want
this
to?
particular resource, you cannot go for that. Is what multi regions and multi zones is a optional thing. So when there are few services in the GCP, you can go for multi gens, multi regions. But there are few services you can't select multi-zones. In this scenario, you can't select multi-zones. But if you wanted to create a VM, you can't select a multi-zones because it is only a zonal optional, zonal capability. So you can only select a one zone here. So that is how you can't deploy it in a multi-zones. So if you wanted to do it, we have to programmatically take care of it. Okay, we have to programmatically. So while creating a VM, try to create a one more VM also. You create two virtual machines and try to deploy your applications in a two virtual machines. So that is what people will be doing. Okay.
How to access this console?
Okay, I'll tell you guys. Don't worry. We will be having a session. This is only the basics I'm covering. I will tell you. The accessing the console is very easy. You can go to the Google GCP Google Cloud Console. Okay, you can just mention GCP console. When you search, you will be having the first link. Click on that. Okay, you can click on console again. Maybe it's not directly going. I'm not sure, but you can go to this link. If you want, I can give you the link, guys. Console.cloud.google.com. That is our link. Okay. Yeah. So this is how whenever we wanted to create any resource in the GCP, understanding the regions and zones is very important. Okay, look at here. This is our first point. This is our second point. This is our third point. What is our first point says, guys? When deploying the resources in GCP, understanding the proximity of region and zone to your target users and customers is very important. Deploying the resources with multi-zones and multi-regions to avoid the unexpected failures. Essential to understand the pricing and availability of the services across different regions and zones as they may vary. Okay, now this is how we have to select the region and zone. Okay, now tell me, guys, what you have what you have got from this particular regions and zone, guys. So now, whenever you wanted to create a resource, what do you think about it? Can you guys tell me? The very first.
High availability.
We need to have high availability. Okay.
Low latency.
Okay, we want low latency. Okay.
Pricing. Cost effective.
Low price.
Low pricing. Okay.
Highly secure. Security automatically.
Multi zones and multi regions, right?
Yes.
Fault tolerance.
Correct. Fault tolerance is a perfect point, actually. Fault tolerance. Okay. Okay, this is how whenever we wanted to create any resource in the GCP, we were looking for these kind of a properties. So if you wanted to get these kind of a properties, what we have to do, sir? We need to select the region and zone properly. Can you tell me how we can select the region and zone properly? What are the points we need to think about it? First point.
Based on users, targeted users.
So you have to deploy your resources near to your target users. First point is select a region or zone near to target users. Correct. Next point, sir. One minute.
Infrastructure availability.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, what is our second point?
Availability.
So what was our second point, guys? So our first point is that near to the target users, we wanted to select a region and zone. What is our second point?
Multiple zone availability.
Correct. multi-zones or multi-regions, we can select it. That is, to avoid the unexpected failures, going for the multi-zones or multi-regions is very important. Third point.
Check price before selecting.
Correct. Check pricing as well as availability. Okay, whether that particular service is available or not, whether the service whatever is available is coming up with the optimum price or not, we need to think about it. So this is what you have to do, sir. So
How do we achieve second point, multi-zone? So can we select multiple times?
not like that. So you go here for not all the services, guys. So for example, you go to the cloud storage. Okay, so when you go to the cloud storage, while you are creating a bucket, so give some name. So you see here multi-region.
Okay.
So you have directly the option. So when you select a US, all the regions, the data is replicated. Okay, the data will be replicated to all the regions automatically. So you are going to get benefit from. See, when you select a single region, what happens? Your cost is very less and your benefit is also very less. But when you go to the multi-region, the cost is high. The replication cost is added here. You see. So that is how you are going to get it. Yeah.
It will copy automatically. Like
Correct. Automatically, it is going to be copying in the backend. So for that one, they are going to use some resource. So that's the reason there is an additional cost associated. Okay. Now, so this is what you have learned, guys, today. So now you got to know that if I wanted to create a resource, I'm expecting your company is expecting these properties. If you wanted to create any resource, you are also expecting the same properties. Sir, I want my resource to be highly available. I want my resource to be highly available. And it should be coming up with very low latency and low pricing, and it should be providing fault tolerance and optimal performance. These are the properties I'm expecting, sir. If you are expecting those properties, try to select a proper region and zone properly. So if you wanted to select a proper region and zone, we need to think about these things. Okay, while creating a location or region, try to deploy your resources near to your target users. Try to create to avoid the unexpected failures. Try to create your resources or applications in multiple zones or multiple regions. While you are creating a resource, check the pricing and availability so that the price region to region the cost may vary, zone to zone also the cost may vary, guys. So that is what we have seen. So this is how you have to think about the GCP regions and locations. And here also we have the same thing. By understanding the GCP regions and zones, it allows organizations to design and deploy their applications and services with high availability, right? As per as our understanding also, we were also expecting the high availability, optimal performance and resilience and fault tolerance. It also helps meet the data compliance requirements and enable the effective disaster recovery strategies. Okay, so this is what it is, sir. Today's class. Do we have any question?
Any specific reason why prices are very sir for US region?
It's demand, guys, right? So it's demand. In USA, for example, iPhone in USA the cost is less. In India, cost is high. What is the thing? What is your think about that? So it's all about the demand, right? So when you have a lot of demand, the cost will be very high. When you have a less demand, the cost will be very less. Okay.
Okay.
So based on the demand, they are going to put the cost here.
Can we use the two location at once?
Two locations? No, you can't do that. Okay, you can't do that. Two locations. But two regions, yes. Two zones, yes.
Yeah, this disaster recovery strategy we need to implement manually, or it will do
So
automatic
now,
scaling.
when you are working in the cloud, when you select a multi-zones and multi-zones, and there are, when we talk about the disaster recovery, there are plenty of points come into the picture, guys. Okay, there are plenty of topics will come into the picture. There are a few things we need to do it manually. Okay, while the logging or monitoring or anything, metrics. So one of the service is down, we need to have an alert creating system. Many things come into the picture. One of the thing is that storing the data properly in a proper location, so that if one of the location is down also, the data is available. So that is this point, the GCP locations. It may have plenty of strategies, but one of the strategies is that selecting a multi-zones will give you a good benefit of not losing the data. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Okay, so this is what is about GCP locations concept, guys. We started with we do not know what is GCP locations. Now we have some idea, right? GCP locations is a very basic concept which will come in each and every service. You go and try to create any resource in the GCP. Locations is first thing you are going to select it, because it is physically affecting the location where you are actually storing your resources or deploying your resources. One thing, it affects the cost, it affects the performance, it affects the availability. 4 things. Okay, so GCP locations affects the cost, location, availability, and performance. So we need to take it properly and select a proper location and region and zone. Okay. Yeah. Any question?
Of this console, the Google asking $300 to pay first for use this.
So if you wanted to use it, we have to create a free tier account. I'll tell you guys. Don't worry. Okay. Yeah. Did I tell you guys how to create a free tier account?
No.
No, sir.
Tomorrow. I'll tell you guys. Yeah. Tomorrow. Okay. I'm going to start the session here for today, guys. Thank you all. Have a great day tomorrow, guys. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all.